Hello physical science folks, here are just some example of how to calculate speed and velocity and also how to rearrange those two formula. So let's just look at the formula triangle for speed, okay? S is speed, D is distance, and T is time. If I were to try to find speed, I would try to cover that up or circle that. And what are the letters left over? I have the letter D over the letter T. So that means that speed is distance divided by time. Now, if I were to rearrange that to find a different variable in that formula, what would it be? So if I wanted to find, for example, distance, I would cover that up. So now I have D is equal to the two letters left over, which is S and T. Since they're next to each other, that means that they are multiplied by each other. Or another way is just to put parentheses around them. So that means that distance is speed times time, or speed multiplied by time. And so we can reach any equation in the formula by just covering up the thing that we want to find. So my rule is usually what I want to find, I will box that and I underline and label what I'm given. So I see there's some number here. That means I'm giving those information. So by now we should be familiar that meter or feet or yard will be distance. And 1.4 second or hours a minute will probably be time, right? So that means that we're trying to find speed because that's our box. We cover that up. And so we have the letter S equal to the letter D divided by T because it's over. That means divided by. So now if we were to plug that in, our distance is 31 meter. And our time is 1.4 second. Now the unit do not cancel out, so I know my answer is going to be meter over second. And I just punch it out in the calculator. I get a number with a long decimal, but for all class, just keep 2 decimal places, and that should be good enough. So I get 22.14 as my answer. And just circle or box your final answer, and that is good enough. So let's try this one. This is our formula for displacement. The D is slightly different here to indicate that it's displacement. So remember, displacement is a path in a straight line from your starting location to your end, and so it will also show a direction. So whenever you calculate velocity or displacement, make sure to include direction. So for example, if I want to calculate velocity, I would cover that up. I would get the letter D over T, which is displacement over time. If I were to try to find time, for example, what do I have? If I cover that up, T would be equal to the letter D divided by the letter V, in this case, which is displacement divided by velocity. So once again, whatever you want to find, just cover that up. Whatever's left over is what you're trying to find. Let's do one last arrangement of that, just so everyone is familiar with it. So if I were to, for example, trying to find the letter D, what would I have, right? So cover that up. So D, I have the letter V and the letter T next to each other. That means that they're multiplied by each other. Or if you want to go with parentheses, that is fine too. So displacement is velocity multiplied by time. Let's try to apply what we just learned. We once again underline what we're given. So here we have 380 miles per hour SE. That means it's a velocity because you know how fast and what direction. And you have 0.25 hour, which is obviously time. We're trying to find displacement, so we box that. So our goal is to get to the displacement. If we cover that up, we would have D, which is what we're trying to find. The one that we cover up is equal to the letter V next to the letter T. And once again, when they're next to each other, that means it's multiply. So displacement is equal to velocity, which is 380 miles per hour southeast, multiplied by our time, which is in this case 0.25 hours. Now we notice that this hour is on top or in the numerator, and this is in the denominator. So those two will cancel out with each other. And it makes sense that if you're trying to find a displacement, which is a length, you would end up with mile. And displacement also have a direction, which is southeast. So now all we have to do is punch it out on the calculator to get the number. So I take 380 multiplied by 0.25, And I can see my F-22 pilot flew for 95 miles in that time when she's performing in a show to represent the Air Force. Okay, so that's just an example of some calculation for speed and velocity. Have a good day.